On behalf of WCVH, this is CV Today.
Good afternoon. Today is Thursday, April 4th.
Now over to Jamie with some more announcements.
Thank you. The quote of the day today is, "At the end of the day, if I can say I had fun, it was a good day," by Simone Biles. Lunch for today is Asian bar and steak sandwich. And lunch for tomorrow is tomato soup. Now over to your weather report.
Hey, what's up, you guys? Today is going to be partly sunny,
with a high of 61 and a low of 41.
and tomorrow's going to be rainy, so bring your umbrella. Or don't. Probably won't. It's okay.
But it's going to be a high of 48 and a low of 47.
Now to headline news. This way, Beth. Oh my God. Sorry about that.
All right, welcome to CBS This Morning. We've got new information this morning on that deadly plane crash in Ethiopia that may undermine Boeing's claims about a suspect piece of software on its new 737 MAX jets. Reports this morning say the Ethiopian Airlines pilots turned off the system designed to prevent the plane from stalling, but somehow it then started again. The Boeing 737 MAX is grounded over software problems linked to two crashes that killed more than 300 people. Chris Van Cleve has been covering this Boeing investigation. Chris, good morning.
Good morning. Certainly these new reports are raising new questions. They indicate the crew of Ethiopian Airlines Flight 302, the one that crashed shortly after takeoff, reportedly did follow Boeing's emergency procedures and turn off that anti-stall system. But they may have turned it back on in an effort to regain control of the plane. Now, this reporting by Reuters and the Wall Street Journal broke overnight and indicates that the system may have activated as many as 4 times, leaving the pilots unable to regain altitude and control of the plane. Remember, this apparently happened almost immediately after takeoff, investigators believe. Now, these reports are bringing into question what Boeing and the FAA have been saying about the ease of turning off the stall prevention feature. Now, after the crash of Lion Air 610, that crashed back in October, killing 189 people, an alert was sent to pilots explaining the existing procedures to use to turn it off. Now, yesterday, the Senate Commerce Committee announced it was investigating the FAA's approval of the MAX, citing whistleblower reports questioning the training of FAA inspectors. The 737 MAX was grounded back in March until there is a software fix addressing this anti-stall system. On Monday, Boeing announced that that fix could take a few weeks longer than originally believed. John?
Chris, thank you.
If you are a senior student athlete who was recruited and has committed to playing a sport in college and you would like to participate in the Spring CV Athletics Commitment Day, please contact Athletic Director Dina Henry no later than May 3rd. The Spring CV Athletics Commitment Day will take place on May 13th at 3:15 in the auditorium. This is for those senior athletes who did not participate in the Commitment Day in February. Greenfield Estates is looking for lifeguards. You must be 15 years or up, have completed a state-approved professional lifeguard course, and CPR/AED course cards. To apply, log on to www.high.net. Now over to Word of the Day.
Your word of the day today is breach. It is a noun meaning a broken, ruptured, or torn condition or area.
Oh no. Oh no. Where's my diary? This is a huge privacy breach.
And that was your word of the day.
Current sophomores and juniors, you have until the next Friday, April 12th, to complete and submit the Link Crew application to serve as the Link leader for the incoming freshman class. Reminder that you did not have to be nominated by a teacher in order to apply. You will gain valuable leadership skills, create new friendships, and make a positive impact on the class of 2023. Please see Mr. DePerno with any questions. Marching band is having a fundraiser at Pasquale's tonight from 5 to 10 p.m. Now to Poetry Corner.
Hello and welcome to another edition of Poetry Corner. She had a call from Ola the other day. She said that a few people, not many, but a few have commented that they make Leola Mills bread flour, Leola Mills cake flour, and they said what we'd like to see is some pumpernickel bread flour. Let me tell you this, if you've had pumpernickel bread from the store, commercially made pumpernickel bread is made by only about 2 of the really big conglomerates. And what they really do is they take rye flour, and they just add a little bit of molasses to it, make it darker and give it a little bit different taste, and they call it pumpernickel. But these people knew that in Germany, real pumpernickel is made from a special variety of rye grain that's very coarse, and it makes a coarse flour. And this is what they're asking for. And Ola said, well, we don't know anybody grows that. They did some searching. They found there is a farmer right here in Lancaster County who is growing the right kind of rye flour for pumpernickel bread. And you know where it is? You could have guessed this. It's down in Nickel Mines area. So he's got a farm there right next to the quarry. Of course, the quarry is long since abandoned and it's filled with water. So he bought an old fire truck, not a hook and ladder, a pumper. And he put that old pumper right next to that lake, and he pumps the water out of the quarry and onto his fields there in Nickel Mines. So they now have access to real pumpernickel flour. And so you can buy Leola Mills pumpernickel, I have trouble saying that in conglomerate too, pumpernickel flour bread at your favorite store. Except it's not there often because they just don't get that big a supply of it. But anyway, I wanted to tell you, this poem I was reading one night, and my daughter came to visit. You know, I got to thinking that what a grandfather does is a grandfather is always talking to the grandchildren, giving them lessons and telling them stories about the past and really giving advice, but not specifically saying, well, this is advice I want to give you, but just simply by telling stories, in a way, is passing along advice and guidance. And so I was thinking about it that night because if you would meet my daughter Cindy was just down last week for dinner one night, but if you would meet her, you would be introduced to her, probably unless it was by me, as Dr. Doherty. Now Dr. Doherty, Cindy, is, well, I like to brag about all my children. She used to be head of the English department at HAC, and then they made her academic dean, and now she's the provost and vice president of HAC. But if you're introduced to her, you'll be introduced to Dr. Doherty. And because of the fact that her next birthday will be her 60th, you saw her, you would think she's an old woman. And I tell you, there aren't many teachers here in, where are we? Conestoga Valley, who are as old as Cindy. And so you would look at her and you get this impression. Here's an old woman. She must still have her marbles because she's got a job like that. But definitely that's the impression you get. But I don't see that. When I see Cindy, I look in her eyes and I remember when she was about 2 or 3 months old and she used to pop her head up. And you'd put her on her stomach on a table or on the floor. And she'd pop her head up and she'd look all around. As soon as she saw me looking at her, she'd smile. And I see Cindy when she was a couple years old and she's standing by a cradle rocking her baby sister. I see her when she was in 8th grade and she was in the school orchestra, and one night at a concert, right in the middle of the concert, she and another girl put down their flutes and they came up to the front of the stage and played a duet with recorders. And I see her when she was in her 20s and she got her PhD. I see all these visions of her. When you see her, you see an old woman. And so I'd like to say to you that when you see somebody, you're not seeing all of that person. Even seeing you, when I see you in class, I don't see all of you. I see the presentation you give at that moment. Anyway, keep that in mind now as I read this poem. This is called What Do You See, Nurse? And this is written by the most prolific of all poetry writers. And if you don't know who that is, you can ask your English teacher. But I'll give you a clue. The name starts with A. Okay. Here is what do you see, nurse? What do you see, nurse? What do you see? Are you thinking when you look at me? A crabbed old woman, not very wise, uncertain of habit with faraway eyes, who dribbles her food and makes no reply. When you say in a loud voice, I do wish you'd try, who seems not to notice the things that you do and forever is losing a stocking or shoe, who, resisting or not, lets you do as you will, with bathing and feeding the long day to fill. Is that what you're thinking? Is that what you see? Then open your eyes, nurse. You're not looking at me. I'll tell you who I am as I sit here so still, as I move at your bidding, eat at your will. I'm a small child of 10 with a father and mother, brothers and sisters who love one another. A young girl of 16 with wings on her feet, dreaming that soon a love she'll meet. A bride at 20, my heart gives a leap, remembering the vows that I promised to keep. At 25 now, I have young of my own who need me to build a secure, happy home. A woman of 30, my young now grow fast, bound together with ties that should last. At 40, my young sons have grown up and gone, but my man's beside me to see I don't mourn. At 50, once more babies play round my knee. Again we know children, my loved ones and me. Dark days are upon me. My husband is dead. I look at the future, I shudder with dread. For my young are all rearing, young of their own, and I think of the years and the love that I've known. I'm an old woman now, and nature is cruel. 'Tis her jest to make old age look like a fool. The body it crumbles, grace and vigor depart. There is a stone where I once had a heart. But inside this old carcass a young girl still dwells, and now again my bittered heart swells. I remember the joys, I remember the pain, and I'm loving and living life over again. I think of the years, all too few, gone too fast, and accept the stark fact that nothing can last. So open your eyes, nurse, open and see. Not a crabbed old woman, look closer, see me. That's all for the Poetry Corner for this time. See you in a couple weeks.
Tomorrow during Block 2, the art department will be hosting a guest speaker that works in the design field. His name is Jamie Kanjapu. He is a visual artist and designer who does 3D visualization, web and graphic design. He works every day with Adobe software like Photoshop and Illustrator, as well as a 3D program called Blender. He will share how he became interested and then employed in the design field. He will share some of his work and describe how he helps his clients to market their products, designs, and ideas. Additionally, he will share some ideas on how to find a career best suited for you. Any student that may have interest in hearing about this field of work, please see Mr. Myers for a pass. Now we're to an announcement for Career Month.
One of the jobs that I had to help me prepare to be a teacher was I tutored at Washington Elementary in the school district of Lancaster. And even though I was learning to become a high school teacher, I just needed any kind of experience to working with kids and building my patience and just learning how to work with kids in general. So I took this opportunity and tutored second graders and third graders. I would say that it definitely helped me prepare to be a high school teacher because I knew for a fact that I did not want to teach elementary school. Because if I had to tell a kid to sit their bottom in a chair one more time, I was gonna go crazy. but it did give me a good experience. I knew that I enjoyed working with students, and it definitely prepared me for my career choice of being a high school teacher.
All right, well, if I'm talking about my career, the trajectory of how I got where I am, I guess I'd have to say when I was in high school, I was an average student. But I always loved art, and I really worked hard at it. Well, I didn't really look at it as work. So I was accepted into the Pennsylvania Governor's School of the Arts my sophomore year of high school, and I had never thought about going to college before that, but that was sort of a summer experience between sophomore and junior year where I spent the summer at Mercyhurst College studying art, and I realized I wanted to do that. And I didn't want to do it necessarily because I thought about a career. I just really, for the first time in my life, was really truly engaged in education. So after high school, I went to Temple University's art school, Tyler School of Art, and I majored in painting and art history. And when I graduated, I did not get a job in art. Well, actually I did. Not right away, but I got a job working for an art center in Philadelphia, Abington Art Center, and I was an administrative assistant, which was kind of a nice way of just saying I did whatever needed to be done. And I worked a lot with artists, setting up exhibitions, working with the logistics of the exhibition, and I really didn't like working with artists because they were egotistical and rude. But one of the women who taught the youth program there became ill, and they needed someone to fill in for her. I mean, she found out she had cancer and was going to have to be gone for some time, so they needed someone to fill her position immediately, and because I had an art degree, they threw me into that, and I really loved working with the kids. I had never considered education before that. I just wanted to make art, and work for me was just a way to pay bills, and all I really cared about was making art. But working with the students in that program, and it was a really strange age group. It was, and for the teachers who are listening to this, they'll get this, it was 6 years old to 12-year-olds, which was a really hard thing to come up with stuff that kind of entertained and, not just entertained, but engaged all of them. But I never really wanted to go back to working on the administrative side of things. I really just kind of liked that school, and it felt a lot like being in the studio and being creative. So I moved back to Lancaster County. I grew up in Ephrata, and I went to Millersville to get my teaching certification, where I met Mr. Burns. And I worked at Lancaster Labs night shift so that I could go to school during the day to get my teaching certification. And I worked for 1 year teaching elementary art at Lampeter Strasburg, and then I was hired here, and for the first, I believe, 8 years in CV, I worked between 3 different schools in the district, and for the past 7 years I've been here full-time at the high school, and I love it. So I guess I don't know, am I supposed to give some kind of advice? I guess if I would give any advice, it would be just to, follow your bliss, be open to things that come up, and be willing to make changes. Life's an adventure, so don't worry if you don't know what you want to do now. I would certainly say I didn't have any idea when I was in high school that I wanted to be a teacher. And this idea of careers, it's not like an end, it's not the end, it's a journey, it's about the journey. And this might not be the end of my journey. I don't know what I want to do yet when I grow up. I'm still trying to figure that out every day, so don't feel bad if you don't know what you want to do when you grow up.
Attention class of 2019. On Tuesday, April 23rd, during flex period, there will be a senior class meeting in Real Gym. This meeting will serve a couple of purposes, with the main one being to take a class panoramic photo. As you wind down your senior year and your memories at CVHS, purchasing a class photo will be one way to keep those memories intact. Order forms are available in the following locations: main office, guidance office, cafeteria, attendance office, and room 220 with Mr. Helms. Bring the completed order form with payment to the class photo session on Tuesday, April 23rd. This class meeting is mandatory. Thanks. Now we're to a mini-thon announcement.
LeBron James.
There's an away tennis match against Garden Spot at 4, dismissal at 2:30.
There's an away volleyball match against JP McCaskey at 7.
There's an away baseball game against Lebanon at 4:15, dismissal at 1:45.
There is a home softball game against Lebanon at 4:15.
Come out and support the Bucks.
Now over to sports highlights.
Once again, Orlando City conceding early at home. DC United goes up 1-0. Whether he hit him or not. Rooney! What a goal from Wayne Rooney! And DC United 2-0 up on Orlando on the road.
Using him as a decoy into that space to help get Nani on the ball.
Nani on the ball now, gives it to Mueller. Mueller for Dwyer! Orlando City gets their goal. They have won that, and it's 2-1.
That's all the announcements we have for you today.
On behalf of WCVH, I'm Brett.
Alongside Taylor.
And this is CV Today.
Have a thoughtful Thursday.
For you, I wanna take you in a caravan to the edge of the ocean, where the trees make a canopy and the moonlight is golden. We could make this a beautiful life. Come on, let me show you in a rented caravan. Not a lot of people make it, and they're lucky if they do. It's a shot in the darkness, but I'll